Just a reminder before today's programme that if you missed it, you can check out the previous episode of the Doctor Who review, where we took a look at Praxeus. And fans should also be aware to check out the unboxing of the recent Blu-ray set, that of Season 26. And now, here on AMTV, the latest instalment of the Doctor Who review, Can You Hear Me?
Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and welcome back to another instalment of the Doctor Who review. And we are going through Series 12, and this time we take a look at Episode 7, Can You Hear Me? So I was quite excited for this episode. The title alone got me really intrigued, and like the little bits that we saw, it seemed like it was going for more like a sort of fantasy sort of thing, and I really liked the sound of that. And on the whole, before I get into it, I really liked it. I was very impressed. But as usual, I've written a bunch of notes on my phone. It's in no particular order of the episode, so we'll just go through them as and when. The first thing I want to talk about was, just because it was the first thing that stood out, Graham's nightmare. I loved the execution of that. So as we saw in the episode, the two gods sort of like let loose their fingers, and it feeds off the nightmares. And Graham's being, yes, that his cancer's going to come back, but also sort of being told by Grace and her berating him, saying, why didn't you save me and all this sort of stuff. It was a very human nightmare. It's something I'm sure a lot of people in the audience could easily relate to if they've been in a similar situation of having cancer. And Bradley Walsh's acting was just phenomenal. So that was probably a standout scene from the episode that I absolutely adored. So well played there. Speaking of Bradley Walsh, I also loved the scene near the beginning with him and his friends playing cards. That was just Bradley Walsh is like just a really humbling, down-to-earth actor. And that scene just sort of epitomised that. And I really liked it. Really, really liked it. Then you have the man who played Zellin. Now, at the time, I'm just recording this like straight after the episode because I've got a number of things to do tonight and tomorrow morning. But the guy who played Zellin, the sort of main villain of the piece, was absolutely fantastic. He delivered a great job of being sinister, slightly funny, with like some sort of acid humour thrown in there. He felt very powerful, very intimidating. And before he revealed his name, I thought he could have been a whole bunch of people. I thought maybe he could have been the Dream Lord. I thought maybe he could have been a Gallifreyan of some kind. I thought he could have even been, I guess I'll get into this now, he could have been the Celestial Toymaker, which is a really old villain that was only seen on screen once back in 1966 under the first Doctor, William Hartnell. And he does actually mention the Toymaker, saying the Toymaker will be proud. I thought that was a fun reference too. And I mean, we get reference to the Guardians as well, the black and white Guardians, who sort of featured within the Key to Time season in 78-79 under Tom Baker's 4th Doctor, and also again briefly in Peter Davison's 5th Doctor tenure in 1983. So it's nice to get those little bit of references. You know, they don't overshadow the episode. They're just there for those fans who are like, I see that. So well played to the writers on that one. I actually like the whole concept of this episode, so messing with nightmares and dreams. It's not something in a way that Who hasn't done before, of course. I mean, you've got the whole, but you've got, it's Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. Donna's essentially dreaming in that one, in a way. There's the whole episode, Amy's Choice, with the 11th Doctor, with the Dream Lord, and about dreams, and it evoked that. And for me, it kind of evoked Listen as well, from Peter Capaldi's era. Obviously not in, like, dream worlds, but listening out for something. I mean, the title, Can You Hear Me, is basically, you could argue, another way of saying listen. So there was like effective callbacks in the theming of this episode, but not in a bad way. Like, it didn't feel dated. It was doing it in its own new original way. So I was giving it props for that. Good concept. I also thought this was a brilliant performance all round for the whole main cast. I mean, I've been loving Jodie anyway. There were some moments of hers I wasn't too attuned to, but having been an actor, I'd like to think they're more like director or writer's choices, but I'll come on to that a bit later. But the companions, you get some real development for them. Some would argue it's come a bit too late, that it should have happened in Series 11. I don't think it matters that much, really, but I'm glad that we've got it. Like Yaz in particular, with her whole thing of, her running away and that police officer finding her. You've got the thing with Ryan about coming back home and the Earth's burning and all his friends are old and possibly dying. And as I mentioned earlier, Graham with his cancer. The development was fantastic, and it all led to culminate in that final TARDIS scene of this episode, which I will talk about towards the end. It's a later note on my phone. But yeah, the character performances and development in this episode was spot on. One thing, I mean, the message of the episode clearly was about mental health, and mental health is a very prevalent topic in today's society. I think a lot of us suffer in some way or another to various extremes with our own forms of mental health, and as anyone who suffers it will tell you, it's not a pleasant thing to go through at all. So I think Doctor Who doing an episode sort of addressing mental health is good, like I've said, in defense of Orphan 55 and Praxeus, to cover topical things is good. But like those episodes, I think mainly towards the end they laboured in that message just a little bit too much. They slammed it in. I mean, not saying we shouldn't talk about mental health, because that's the whole aspect of it, but what I loved throughout the episode dotted was that we were basically being told it was about mental health. Like, the bit I loved the most, actually, was when Zellin, the villain, said to the Doctor, oh, you know, these humans, it's fascinating, their capacity to essentially put themselves down, saying, oh, they're not worthy, or they can't do things like that. And as soon as you hear that, you instantly associate it with mental health. Straight away, you don't need an explanation. And even if you get little references here and there from different characters, you know, like if the Doctor has a line there or something, that's fine. But these end-of-episode big speeches or whatever, I mean, it just comes across as educational, but in the sense of it's that, like, that's the point. Like, forget the fantasy, forget the adventure, we're just doing education. Again, I don't think that's Jodie's or anyone on the acting side's fault. They've given the lines, they've got to read them. Is this Chris Chibnall introducing a theme? Probably, I'm not sure, but I think you just need to tone that back a little bit. You can still have your themes. The episode can still be centered around mental health or dreams, nightmares, our own mental health issues, but you don't need to ram it in. You know, give us more credit. We don't need to be sort of told about it. But anyway, I love the final TARDIS scene, which I talked about earlier, where it sort of all culminates back. We hear the conversation between Ryan and Yaz about, you know, is this their lives now, just travelling? Ryan's definitely more concerned than Yaz, but I like that because that furthers his character. Like, a lot of people criticise Ryan for not really having a character. I've always defended that he has. But I just like that development, that he's actually thinking about it, because you would. And, like, yes, you can be put back, but as well as having changed when travelling with the Doctor, you'll age, but say if you get put back at the same time and it's been years for you, then that's going to be different. I like addressing the implications of travelling with the Doctor, that it's not just, yeah, you go and have fun and it's all peachy keen. There are many downsides to it, and I'm glad that we're addressing that in this series. And I did like the bit before that where Bradley Walsh or Graham is chatting with the Doctor about his fear of the cancer returning. The whole thing about her being socially awkward, I didn't like that. I didn't think it was insensitive, because, you know, it's been established this Doctor's a bit... Well, she's not even socially awkward. She's just not attuned to social norms. Socially awkward, or what I pursue as to be socially awkward, she isn't. She's very lively, she's bubbly, as she said in the episode, she plays well with others, she's always talking to people. So, I thought we could have had a really beautiful scene. Didn't need to be too preachy, but a really beautiful response from Jodie's Doctor to Graham to sort of like cement their friendship with one another in their bond. And we didn't get it, but I like that whole scene anyway. I wanted to know a bit too more about these sort of immortal beings, and, like, you know, because we get like glimpses and hints, and I can't remember if actually the woman who was trapped initially, I don't even think she was named on screen. I didn't check the credits, but if I did miss it, you'll have to let me know. I thought it'd be really cool. Now, this is a deep cut. He was called Zellin. I thought maybe, to carry on with the naming, she could have been Zodin, who was a throwaway line from the Five Doctors back in 1983. The second Doctor says, the terrible Zodin. But then I guess, you know, the Doctor would know who Zodin was, etc, etc, etc. But imagine, that could have been a cool throwaway thing. To round off with, we did have the link to our overall theme, which of course is the whole thing about the timeless child. That was Jodie's nightmare. And I did have a feeling that was going to be it, that or the sight of Gallifrey in ruins. I am getting more gradually excited towards the finale, just to see how this all ends, especially as we now know the final episode of this series is going to be titled The Timeless Children, which implies there's more than just one child. So, I mean, it's nice to have that link, you know, whereas Praxeus really didn't. This one does contain that link. Just that, you know, 10 seconds of just saying, by the way, here's that overall story. That's all you need. So, kudos for doing that. But on the whole, Can You Hear Me, I thought was a great episode. Some really beautiful scenery as well, some wonderful performances, some very interesting ideas that I just wanted elaborated a little bit more. It sort of leans towards my thing of I wish Doctor Who was an hour now instead of 50 minutes. But whatever. But it was a fantastic episode, one of the best of this season for sure, easily. And I look forward to see, because of course we're going to go see Mary Shelley next in Frankenstein. I can't remember the title of the episode off the top of my head. It's The Haunting of Something, I think. Bit of a out of the ordinary name, but I look forward to reviewing that for you next week. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave below in the comments, did you enjoy Can You Hear Me, or did you not enjoy it? What did you think? What were your problems with it, if you had any? Please subscribe to the channel if you are brand new. Leave a like on the video as well, and tune in next week for some more Doctor Who reviewing. But until the next one, I will see you guys next time.
Well, that does bring us to a close this evening on AMTV. We do hope you enjoyed the programme, and please do keep your eyes open for brand new content that will be coming to you soon. Until then, have a very good week, and we hope that you join us again soon. Good night.